Welcome back to the deep dive. I want you to start by just, picturing something for a second. Imagine the last time you walked through an airport terminal.
Oh, yeah.
You're holding your overpriced coffee, looking out those massive glass windows at the tarmac, and you see those colossal commercial aircraft just sitting there at the gate.
The really big ones.
Right. And these are arguably some of the most technologically advanced machines in the human world. I mean, we are talking about absolute marvels of modern engineering.
Oh, absolutely.
They're packed with millions of lines of code, state-of-the-art sensor networks, and fly-by-wire flight control systems.
Which is incredible tech.
Exactly. Meaning when a pilot pulls back on the yoke, they aren't, pulling a physical steel cable connected to a wing flap anymore. They are sending an electrical signal to a computer that calculates the exact aerodynamic adjustment needed in milliseconds.
It really is staggering when you break down the sheer volume of computing power soaring through the sky at any given moment. I mean, a modern commercial jet is essentially a massive, highly calibrated data center that just happens to produce thrust.
Right, yeah.
These machines are generating just terabytes of data on a single flight. They're constantly monitoring their own engine temperatures, hydraulic pressures, structural integrity, everything.
And that actually brings us to the mission of today's deep dive.
Yeah.
We are looking at a really revealing piece of source material today called Wings of Efficiency: Digital Workflows in Aviation Maintenance.
It's a great read.
It really is. And our goal today is to uncover the surprisingly, and I mean shockingly low-tech reality of how these cutting-edge machines are actually maintained on the ground.
Yeah, there's quite a disconnect there.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Okay.
Because there is a massive contradiction at the heart of the aviation industry. Despite operating in one of the most highly regulated, high-stakes environments on the planet, the frontline technicians, the inspectors, the engineers—
So people doing the actual work.
Exactly. The people who actually perform the daily maintenance, component replacements, and safety checks, they're often completely bogged down by severely outdated manual documentation.
It is a remarkable paradox. You have an industry where precision and safety are absolutely paramount. I mean, the margin for error is effectively zero.
Zero.
And yet, the way the critical safety data is often captured at the point of origin looks fundamentally different from the sleek technology inside the aircraft itself.
I was trying to think of a way to describe this disconnect to someone outside the industry. And the best analogy I could come up with is this. It is like going out and buying a $50 million state-of-the-art smart home.
Okay, I like where this is going.
You've got retina scanners, automated laser grids, biometric locks, predictive climate control, the works.
Right.
But then to actually run the security system, you have a guy sitting on a lawn chair on the front porch with a yellow legal pad and a leaky ballpoint pen.
That paints the picture perfectly. The mismatch between the flying asset and the operational management of that asset on the ground is just stark.
And the examples from the text of how these frontline teams are actually documenting their maintenance activities are wild. We're talking about paper maintenance logs.
Yeah.
We're talking about printed inspection checklists that someone just carries around on a battered clipboard, manual sign-off forms. And this next one really stopped me in my tracks: WhatsApp photo reporting.
Oh, yeah. That one is always a shock to people.
I mean, the same app I use to send funny videos to my family is being used for critical aviation maintenance reporting. Plus, there are countless spreadsheets, manual data entry tasks, and deeply delayed reporting into the actual maintenance management systems.
It sounds chaotic because it is.
I am really struggling to wrap my head around a mechanic using WhatsApp to clear a multi-million-dollar jet for takeoff.
What's fascinating here is the underlying human and environmental element driving this behavior. Hangars and tarmacs are not quiet, climate-controlled corporate offices with ergonomic chairs.
Right, they're not sitting at a desk.
Exactly. They are highly physical, incredibly noisy, fast-paced environments. The technicians are dealing with extreme weather, intense time pressures, heavy machinery, and really complex physical tasks.
Right.
So picture a technician standing on a wobbly ladder in the freezing rain at 2 a.m, trying to quickly and safely replace a critical valve so a 6 a.m. flight isn't delayed.
That sounds miserable.
It is. And in that moment, formal documentation naturally takes a back seat to just getting the physical job done. It is infinitely easier for that technician to just snap a quick photo on their smartphone and text it to their supervisor over WhatsApp.
Wow.
Or scribble a hurried check mark on a piece of paper rather than climb down, walk a quarter mile across a massive hangar, and log into a stationary computer terminal.
When you frame it like that, it makes complete sense from the perspective of the person turning the wrench. I mean, it's human nature to find the path of least resistance when you're cold, wet, and on the clock.
Completely understandable.
But I have to imagine that while snapping a quick photo or checking a box on a muddy piece of paper seems like a pragmatic shortcut in the moment, it creates a massive headache later on.
A huge headache.
What is the actual operational fallout when that WhatsApp message gets lost in the ether?
It sets off a severe chain reaction of inefficiencies that reverberates through the entire organization. The first immediate consequence is the time lag.
Okay.
Because there are delays in reporting from the tarmac, the managers and the planners sitting in the office are essentially flying blind. They don't know the real-time status of an aircraft.
So they're just guessing.
Pretty much. They might think a plane is ready for boarding when, in reality, a technician is still waiting on a part delivery on the other side of the airport.
And I would guess there is a serious quality drop in the data itself. Let's be real, handwritten notes in that environment get smudged with grease.
Oh, constantly.
You are basically dealing with a mechanic's handwriting, which probably already looks like a doctor's prescription, and now it is smeared in hydraulic fluid and rainwater.
Which leads directly into the most frustrating part for the administrative side, the double work.
Ah, right.
Because that grease-smudged paper log, or that printed checklist, cannot legally remain on paper. It eventually has to become a permanent digital record.
So someone has to type it all in.
Exactly. So you have this duplicated administrative nightmare where a planner or a supervisor has to sit at a desk, squint at this piece of paper, try to decipher the handwriting, and manually type those records into the company's digital maintenance management system.
The room for human error there is just terrifying. You are relying on a tired administrator to correctly interpret a hurried scribble from a night shift mechanic.
It happens all the time.
And because of that administrative bottleneck, you get this massive visibility gap.
Yeah.
If you have multiple technicians working on different parts of an aircraft, or if a complex repair spans across a shift change, tracking the completion of specific tasks becomes a guessing game.
Total guessing game.
You have people walking around asking, did Jim sign off on the landing gear before he clocked out?
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to talk about the stakes involved. Aviation regulators like the FAA in the United States or EASA in Europe require impeccable, airtight audit trails.
Right, they don't mess around.
Not at all. Let's say the worst happens and an engine component fails mid-flight. When the NTSB or regulatory inspectors show up to investigate, they don't just want to know what happened today.
They want the whole history.
Exactly. They need to know exactly whose wrench touched that specific turbine blade 3 years ago, what the torque setting was, and who signed off on the inspection.
That's incredibly specific.
It is. And trying to piece together a coherent, legally compliant audit trail from a fragmented mix of paper logs and filing cabinets, outdated spreadsheets, and informal chat messages on someone's personal phone, it's a monumental struggle.
It takes the whole clipboard and spreadsheet problem from being a boring administrative issue to a high-stakes thriller pretty quickly.
Definitely.
Because if you can't produce those documents, your operation is grounded. And even on a day-to-day basis, this has to be quietly bleeding money.
Oh, the hidden costs are massive.
Every minute a plane sits on the tarmac waiting for paperwork to clear is a minute it isn't flying paying passengers. It ruins maintenance planning, grains workforce productivity, and just inflates the overall cost of keeping these birds in the sky.
Precisely. Every hour, a highly trained supervisor spends hunting down a lost piece of paper or retyping data is lost value. It's a hidden tax on the entire operation that severely limits how many aircraft they can safely manage.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I would listen to all of this and assume, okay, sure, this is a headache, but it has to be a problem isolated to tiny mom-and-pop aviation shops.
That's what most people think.
Right. If I'm a small maintenance operation with 20 mechanics, surely a group text and a whiteboard work just fine. The massive airlines must have this all figured out.
That is a very common and very dangerous assumption within the industry. The reality is actually quite the opposite.
Really?
Yes. Smaller aviation maintenance companies often face significantly greater operational risk precisely because of that mindset.
I would not have guessed that. Why would a nimble 20-person shop face greater risk than a massive global airline with hundreds of planes to keep track of?
It comes down to the mechanics of how organizations scale, which is something known as the growth trap.
The growth trap.
Right. When a company is very small, maybe a handful of technicians and a single supervisor working out of one hangar, informal workflows might barely hold together.
Because everyone is right there.
Exactly. A shared spreadsheet, a group text message, literally just shouting across the hangar. These things function when everyone is in the same room.
Makes sense.
But as that smaller company begins to grow, as they take on more airline clients, hire 50 more technicians, and start operating across 3 different shifts.
Whiteboard isn't going to cut it anymore.
No, those informal workflows don't just become slightly inefficient, they become a tangled, high-risk web.
It's like trying to run a bustling restaurant kitchen using the communication style of a family cooking dinner. It just falls apart.
That's a great way to put it. If they grow without implementing structured processes for capturing operational data, the communication breakdowns multiply exponentially.
It's a scaling issue.
Exactly. And I'd encourage you, as you're listening, to think about this in your own life. What stands out to you when you think about how systems scale in your own work? Have you ever seen a quick fix, like a temporary tracking spreadsheet, become a permanent, unmanageable nightmare as a project grew to involve 10 more people?
Oh, man. The classic, we'll just use this Google Sheet for now, that somehow turns into a mission-critical document 5 years later.
We've all been there.
But the one guy who built the formulas left the company 3 years ago. It's a disaster waiting to happen.
Exactly.
So if smaller companies are actually at greater risk of this growth trap, and the industry is collectively drowning in smudged paper, so what does this all mean? How does a maintenance operation actually pull themselves out of the mud?
The strategy outlined in the research is something called workflow optimization.
And they make a point to define this not as just throwing software at the problem. It isn't just buying a bunch of licenses for an app.
Right, it's way deeper than that.
It is about completely redesigning how the frontline technicians interact with data in their physical environment, moving the capture of inspection data, photos, and compliance documents into a structured digital format directly from the hangar floor.
Completely bypassing the desk transcription phase.
Right.
It is about empowering the technician at the point of action. But you can't just hand a mechanic an off-the-shelf tablet.
Why not?
Because in an aviation hangar, you are surrounded by highly volatile jet fuel fumes. A tiny spark from a standard commercial lithium-ion battery could be catastrophic.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, safety is everything. So you give them what is called an intrinsically safe mobile device.
Intrinsically safe.
Hardware specifically engineered not to produce a spark even if it's dropped or damaged. You pair that specialized hardware with a structured, intuitive software interface.
There is a fantastic real-world example of this in the source material. A company called Com360.
Yes, great example.
They don't just act as a software vendor. They act as diagnostic partners.
Mm-hmm.
They physically go into these maintenance facilities to watch how the work is actually being done.
Which is the only way to actually fix the problem.
Right. I want to try and visualize what a redesigned workflow looks like compared to the old way. Let's say a technician needs to inspect a landing gear strut. What does the before and after look like?
Let's walk through it. The before scenario is painful. The technician walks 20 minutes from the aircraft to a central terminal.
To get the paperwork.
Yep. They print out a 12-page inspection form. They walk 20 minutes back to the landing gear. They realize they need a flashlight, so they balance the clipboard on a tire.
Oh, no.
It slides off into a puddle of Skydroll hydraulic fluid.
Of course it does.
They pick it up, wipe it off, inspect the strut, and scribble a note that a seal looks slightly worn. They pull out their personal phone, take a picture of the seal, and text it to their boss.
The WhatsApp strategy.
Exactly. At the end of the shift, they hand the stained paper to an admin who spends 20 minutes trying to read it and type it into the system, while the boss tries to remember to download the photo from their texts and upload it to the right aircraft file.
That sounds exhausting just to listen to. So what is the after scenario with a diagnostic partner like Com360?
The after completely eliminates the friction. The technician is standing at the landing gear with their intrinsically safe tablet. The Com360 platform already knows which aircraft they are standing in front of and exactly which work order is active.
That's incredibly smooth.
They tap Begin Inspection. The interface guides them step by step. When they see the worn seal, they tap a button to activate the tablet's camera. They take the photo directly within the application.
So no texting the boss.
No texting. The system instantly tags that photo with the aircraft tail number, the technician's ID, a precise timestamp, and the exact step of the work order.
That is brilliant.
They electronically sign off with a stylus, and the moment they hit submit, the planner in the office half a mile away sees the dashboard update in real time.
That is night and day. It completely changes the dynamic of the hangar. And the direct benefits of this digital transformation for an aviation maintenance operator are massive.
Absolutely massive.
Let's run through them because it really highlights the stakes we talked about earlier.
First and foremost, you get dramatically improved operational visibility. Managers aren't guessing anymore. They can see the pulse of the hangar in real time.
No more flying blind.
Exactly. Secondly, there is a massive reduction in the administrative workload. You entirely eliminate that redundant layer of data transcription.
Which frees up your supervisors to actually supervise and your planners to plan instead of acting as highly paid data entry clerks.
Precisely. And then there is the regulatory peace of mind. This transformation leads to ironclad compliance documentation and vastly improved maintenance traceability.
This goes back to the NTSB scenario. If an auditor or an investigator walks in and asks for a record from 2 years ago, you aren't digging through a dusty filing cabinet, hoping a piece of paper didn't get misplaced.
Exactly. It takes a matter of seconds to pull up a pristine, digitally signed, time-stamped document with the attached high-resolution photographic evidence.
That has to feel good for an operations manager.
Now, it changes everything. It enhances accountability across all the engineering teams. Everyone knows exactly who signed off on what, leaving absolutely no room for ambiguity or finger-pointing.
It is basically bringing the maintenance process into the 21st century to finally match the incredibly advanced aircraft they're actually working on.
It's about time.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the core takeaway for you listening is this. The aviation maintenance industry is a prime example of how even the most advanced, high-stakes environments can fall victim to the clipboard and spreadsheet trap.
A trap that catches a lot of industries.
Very true. But digital workflow optimization offers a very clear runway out of that chaos.
It is a vital transition for the industry. The gap between the technology of the flying asset and the management of the maintenance operation simply cannot persist if safety and efficiency are to scale with the growing demands of global travel.
And honestly, it really connects back to almost any job. Whether you are clearing a Boeing 747 for a transatlantic flight, or you're just managing a complex project with a remote team at your own company, the way you capture data at your frontline, wherever your frontline happens to be, dictates the health, the visibility, and the ultimate success of your entire operation.
Beautifully said.
If the data is bad at the source, everything built on top of it is unstable.
This raises an important question, though. As the aviation industry rushes toward the future with concepts like AI-driven predictive maintenance.
Right, where algorithms tell us a part is going to fail before it actually does.
Exactly. How can those multi-billion-dollar AI systems possibly function if the foundational data they are learning from is currently trapped on a coffee-stained paper checklist or a blurry WhatsApp photo? If the frontline data capture is broken, is the AI revolution in aviation grounded before it even takes off?
That is a terrifying and deeply fascinating thought to leave on. You simply cannot train an artificial intelligence on a smudge. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep asking questions, take a hard look at how your own workflows are built, and as always, stay curious. We'll catch you on the next one.